All right, I'm just about to get on to doing a carburetor overhaul for this Tohatsu 9.8 horsepower. They're one of my favorite outboards. They're only 26 kilograms in this short shaft configuration. They're two-stroke and yeah, go really, really well, especially for their weight. All right, so you've got to take the choke off, which is just push that little guy, let that roll down, and then you've got the throttle there. So you should be able to just push that up. So I've just pushed that clip off there and just pull that little thing out. And now the carburetor linkages are free from the body. And then we're going to undo these two bolts on the front, they're 10 mil. And then we have a fuel line here, which I'll take off the fuel pump. And then yeah, after those two bolts are out, the carby will just slide off. So I found with pulling like a fuel hose off a fitting like this, I've moved that clip back, but it's way better to use a screwdriver or something and push it up from the bottom rather than just pulling this hose, because you can actually ruin this, this nipple coming out of the fuel pump. So yeah, that's a good tip, is pry things like that up from the base. So now that these bolts are undone, you will have a gasket, in between, get the spider web out, in between the carburetor and the actual reed intake cover. So yeah, just make sure that you don't lose that or it drops down or anything like that. Often it's free from both surfaces. So anyway, that one's stuck to the block, which is fine. All right, so we'll get into getting this overhauled. Okay, so the first thing we're gonna do is just strip down the whole carburetor. So we'll take the float bowl off first. There we go. It's just these 4 screws on the bottom. Gently pop that off. Now you're going to have a float in here, that one there. And I like to look inside this bowl. Ooh, okay, so see all this stuff in here? That's not clean at all. And these little bits here, see these little bits here floating around? Those. Stuff like that is going to definitely cause some issues when you're running. Now, I just took this motor out and it ran perfectly, but every now and then it would sort of back off on the revs. I know the compression's perfect on this motor, and yeah, I'd pull the choke out and put it back in and it would come good. So yeah, definitely the first place to start if that's happening is a carburetor overhaul. Okay, so we'll continue on with this. Under this is the low speed mixture screw. Down inside, mixture jet, sorry. So yeah, I'll be taking low speed mixture jet out, high speed mixture jet. Well, yeah, just keep pulling things out. Make sure you don't lose anything, keep it all in order. So this is the float here, and that's the shut-off pin there. When this floats up, it that pin pushes up into here and yeah, stops more fuel coming in. All right, we'll take the low speed jet out. You do need to be gentle with these jets, as they are pretty easy to damage the threads on. Yeah, so that actually looks all clear. We'll take, this is the idle mixture screw, we'll take that out. Just set everything aside on a clean rag for now. And under here, I believe there's a few holes which this mixture, idle mixture screw feeds. So if they have blockages in them as well, your motor may not idle that well. Okay, so don't lose these rubbers as well. So yeah, we'll be cleaning out all of this sort of stuff in here. and they're the two little holes down in there that I was talking about for the idle mixture screws. So often, yeah, a motor may not be idling properly, and one of those will have some junk in it, and yeah, that's the only problem with the motor. Okay, the next thing is the fuel pump. We'll undo these, take the fuel pump apart. I think this carby is, yeah, 100% fine. It's just got some junk in it. So, and that there's from fuel just drying out in the yeah, in the little bowl. It's always good when you take a motor out and yeah, you think it's something like this, and you pull it apart and you see, you know, all the junk in the bowl, and you're like, well, that's most likely what the problem is. So again, this has lots of gaskets and very easy to rip gaskets. So yeah, you just got to be gentle pulling things apart. So just gently pry it off. You don't want to wreck them. Yeah, because with carburetors, most of the time you can use the same gaskets. It just needs a clean. So, all right, we'll just take the high-speed mixture jet out. Use the appropriate size screwdriver as well whilst doing this. Don't try and, yeah, I mean, you can see, can you see through that? Through the hole? Sort of. Anyway, that's clear at the moment, but yeah, I'm sure when I was running around, little bits of this were getting up and blocking things, so, all right. All right, so I'm gonna start with clearing, you know, all this stuff out. That's just, yeah, unleaded fuel in there. Just gently getting the big chunks out with this screwdriver. And then I'll try and use a brush. Yeah, so can you see all those little bits floating around in there? Look at that. Definitely going to cause problem. Alright, I'll go and get it. So I've just got an old toothbrush. Make sure you clean everything out. Yummy. Alright, so there's another product I use, throttle body carby cleaner. So this actually is, yeah, pretty good product as well if there's stubbornness. It really just gets everything so clean. All right, you get the idea. Yeah, so all in here as well. Yeah, there's bits of junk. This little part here actually often pops out too, so you can sometimes give that a tap. There you go. So again, all of these little holes in here need to be clean, and as you can see, there's junk everywhere, all over it. So yeah, it's another part that needs to be cleaned up. Remember which way up it went. We'll run through that on reassembly. So another good thing about this cleaner is it comes with this sort of tip, so you can actually shove it down in holes like that and see it coming out the other exit or entry point. So yeah, really, really handy. This one should come into that, yeah, into that bay there. Just make sure all of these sort of passages are, yeah, nice and clean. I'm just going to clean up this Make sure all these little, that's just a pin, little holes are unblocked. There we go. I will set up some compressed air in a minute and yeah, blow everything through. So here I've got the high-speed mixture jet and the low-speed mixture jet. So the low-speed one sort of, yeah, runs under 2,000 RPM. Fuel will be, you know, feeding your motor through that. And once you get up a bit more in the revs, it'll be running off this guy. The hole in that's probably only like 1.2 mil. If anything gets blocked into that, your motor's not going to run properly. And likewise with this one, it's probably 0.5 mil in there. I don't know if you can see that. No, anyway, it's so small. If anything gets stuck through into that, yeah, it's not going to run properly. Get onto the compressed air. Yeah, blow all these jets out. Please make sure to hold it very tightly. As you do that, you don't want to blow your jet across your garage or whatever and lose it. Just making sure all those little holes are very clean. Likewise with every hole you can find in this guy. Yeah, so they're making sure that all clean. All right. Cool. All right, we'll start with the reassembly. We'll just drop this straight down in there. It's got a sort of fatter end. This end here, the thinner end, goes down into the carby. This end here obviously sits underneath that, so we just drop that in and put our high-speed jet back in, or main jet. You don't have to go crazy tight on these. You just nip them up. All right, and now our low-speed jet. Back in. Now this part here is very, very important. If you don't put this in, your motor won't run. And that sort of blocks off the low speed jet pickup. Yeah, and if that's not in, honestly, your motor won't start. All right. Just inspect everything before you put it back in, make sure it actually is clean. All right, that guy can sit in there. There you go, and the way that works is the carby sits this way, and when your float bowl's empty, this drops down and allows that little stopper to come down, and fuel comes in. And when the float bowl fills up, this comes up and shuts the fuel off from coming into the carby. So a bit like a toilet, actually. All right. So now while that's done, we can put the float bowl back on. Just inspect your gasket, make sure it's looks okay. Yep, everything's done in there. All right. And just do them up. You all know how that works. All right, we'll put the fuel pump back on. Make sure all your gaskets are there. Do up the screws. And again, don't go stupidly tight on all this stuff. Just sort of a firm nip is what I'd call it. So I'm not tightening them yet, I'm just getting them all in. All right, so yeah, I'm just basically giving them a firm tighten. I'm not going to my full power or anything like that, because all this is plastic. You don't want to wreck everything or, yeah, make things deform. Now the idle mixture screw. The way you set these up when you do a carb overhaul, and it's the same for most motors, you just go until it gently touches the bottom. Okay, so that's just touched, end of that cone has just touched the end. I can feel that, just gently, don't tighten it tightly. And from that point where it just touches, you come out 1.5 turns. So half, 1, 1.5. And that's a very good starting point for when you need to tune up your carburetor after you've done a carb overhaul. All right, we'll just put this top here back on, and then we can reinstall this and give it a tune on the motor. Little gaskets back on. Two screws in there. My big fingers are having issues. All right. Someone's had this apart before. I can see that screw's not what it should be. I might actually take that out and put the right one in. I've got plenty of carbies. All right, got the right screw now. All right, excellent. There you go. Now, she's ready to put back on. Yeah, again, make sure your gasket's on your motor, and in between the two, do your bolts up. Right, so I'm just doing up these two front bolts, making sure my little air box is on. Again, these don't have to be like ridiculously tight, just firm. All right, now put the linkages back in, which is easy. This is the choke. Just pop it into there and clip that thing down. Boom. And here's your, yeah, throttle linkage. Just pop it back in, flip that over, click. All right, that's done. And now on this side, we just need to get our fuel line back on. So we just push that back on and move our little stay back on. Pliers are probably a better tool to use. Anyway, so that's all overhauled. That's all overhauled, and we'll put this in the test tank now and tune that back up so you can all see that process. All right, so we'll start this up. And then yeah, just tune the idle. So you can see the idle speed's a bit low now. This one here is your idle speed. That one. So that just pushes it down. This one here is your idle mixture. So you'll see if I screw this in, it's starting to stall. If I screw it out too far, very rough. You want it somewhere between the two. Here it starts to run smooth. That's too far. There you go. Alright, thanks for watching, cheers.